director in today's second half hour. He's the author of several books that were made into blockbuster movies. Movies like Get Shorty and Jackie Brown.
Well, now Elmore Leonard has a new book called Pagan Babies. It too has been picked up by a major studio. We'll talk to the renowned author next and tell you where you can get an autographed copy.
Well, welcome back to 11 News at Noon. I'll tell you, chances are you've read his books, and even more people probably out there have seen the movies that were based on his book. We're talking to Elmore Leonard today, who joins us in studio. He's got a new book out called Pagan Babies, and just starting a book signing tour, and we are his first stop, we're told. So
yes,
thank you very much for being here. We're very excited to have you here.
A pleasure.
Kind of an interesting, now we mentioned before that you've written stories such as Get Shorty, which became a motion picture, also Jackie Brown, which became a motion picture. This too has been picked up by a major motion picture studio.
Out of Sight was the most recent with George Clooney and Jennifer Lopez. Actually, I've written 36 books, and I think 15 of them have been made into movies, and some we don't talk about.
Okay, well, we won't bring those up.
Well, you know, I was going to actually ask you about that process, because you always hear that the movie's never as good as the book. Now, when you actually have written the book, do you watch the movie and do you just kind of think, boy, there are just some pieces missing, or this is not how I envisioned it?
I've been very happy lately because of a good screenwriter, two good screenwriters, Tarantino, and of course he directed Jackie Brown. He'd called me up before and he said, I've been afraid to, just before he went into production, said, I was afraid to call you for about a year. And I said, why? Because you're casting an African-American woman in the lead and you changed the title? And he said, yeah. I said, well, you're the filmmaker, you know, do what you want, because I've always loved his work. No, there's some though that I'm very optimistic, so that when it goes into production, I think they're going to make a good movie. Now, more often than not, they haven't, but that's the chances you take, you know.
Now, you are known for your crime fiction, and this is an interesting topic. It's based, or starts out in Rwanda.
Right. Tell
us a little bit about, you know, the whole concept for this book.
Well, you know, it's funny, because when I start, when people ask me, what's the book about, or no, where'd you get the idea? It's always, it began with something else. And then I begin with a character and say, well, I'm not satisfied, I don't think I'll do that. It sounds too much like a private eye story. Well, what about the woman? Maybe the antagonist is a woman and she's into some kind of a con game. Then I think, well, what about, I don't know how I got to Rwanda, except that I know I was reading, and not at the time of the genocide, but a couple of years later, there was a book called We Wish to Inform You That Tomorrow We Will Be Killed with Our Families, Phil Gurevich, who is with the New Yorker. And I read that book, then I talked to him for several hours on the phone to get information. Then I found a photographer, a news photographer in Rwanda, and my researcher would contact him directly, email, and tell him exactly what we needed. Because in the news stories and in the news photos, they all seemed to be in long shots, or they were photographs of bodies of all the nearly 800,000 people who were murdered at that time in 1994. In 100 days, that many people were murdered.
Now, for the research, did you go down there yourself?
No. Fortunately, well, the tourist tour books that I read advised against it. Right. And I was very happy to read that. I had no intention of going to Rwanda anyway. My book, Cuba Libre, which was a couple of years ago and takes place in Cuba 100 years ago, my researcher went. But by the time he got back, I had finished the book. But he did come back with information that I did need, the interior of a hotel that was used extensively in the book. But I had all kinds of pictures, exterior pictures in Cuba 100 years ago.
How long does it take you to write?
About 5 or 6 months usually.
Really?
Yeah. So then I have the rest of the, pardon me?
It doesn't seem that long, but I guess you've gotten good at it after 36 books.
I work at it all day, you know. When I'm working at least from 10 to 6. and I'll do 4 pages. 4 pages is a good day for me because it gets harder. So I've been doing it now for 49 years, and I try and make it better, and you don't want to repeat yourself, and and there are more interruptions.
Right.
Now, considerably more.
Well, we need to take a break. When we come back, we've already kind of explained that part of the story takes place in Rwanda, but who are the characters in this book? We'll talk more with Elmore Leonard after this.
Well, the book is Pagan Babies by Elmore Leonard, and it hits the stands today, so you should have a chance to check it out if you'd like. Elmore, let me ask you, where do you get your inspiration for different stories? Do you find yourself just, you know, in quiet moments thinking, or is it something you may see or hear that gives you your ideas?
I may think I'd like to do a book about a bail bondsman, because bail bondsmen are usually treated rather shoddily in movies and books, or a probation officer. In this case, I thought, how about a priest? A priest for a missionary in Central Africa. He comes home to Detroit, and then the story really gets going, except that his time in Rwanda has a major influence on the plot that develops in Detroit. When he runs into a woman who has just done 3 years in prison for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, where she tried to run over a guy who had conned her out of a lot of money with an automobile. And she comes out of prison wanting to do stand-up comedy using the prison as the material. The two get together, because you'll find out soon enough that he's really not a priest, but he's pretending to be.
So he's pretty shady.
He's not real. I don't think of him as shady.
No.
I don't think of her as shady. I don't think of any of my characters as shady, because I really enjoy them, and I have an affection for all my characters.
They seem complex.
Well,
is that a better word?
I suppose, but yeah, they are. But I think they come to life. At least they do for me, because I like them. You know, at least the antagonists, the bad guys, I feel sorry for them. And most of them are fairly dumb, but they have street savvy, you know.
Now, you're a former advertising executive.
Yeah.
And but you say you've been writing for 49 years, so I'm assuming you wrote for a little while you were an ad executive. How do you make the transition?
I wrote at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'd get up at 5 and write 2 pages before going to work, before going to an ad agency to write Chevrolet ads. And to me, one has nothing to do with the other, because I'm asked that often, did copywriting help you with the prose? And I said no, because I was writing fiction actually before I got a job as a writer, as a copywriter. But I couldn't wait to get out of the agency business, because I was writing something that I didn't enjoy. You know, same with screenwriting. For about 15 years, I wrote screenplays, but I never got any satisfaction out of it, because the enthusiasm goes into the book. Okay, now you're going to adapt it. Now you're going to take the 350-page manuscript and cut it down to a 120-page shooting script, and an awful lot of the good stuff's gone.
Yeah.
Did you have what I would call maybe a popular book while you were still working as an ad executive, and maybe that helped you to break free of the...
Well, while I was with the ad agency, I wrote about a few more than 30 short stories that were in Western magazines in the 50s. Westerns were big in the 50s. And 5 books and 2 movies. 3:10 to Yuma and one called The Tall T, which was Randolph Scott and Richard Boone. 3:10 to Yuma was Glenn Ford and Van Heflin.
Wow.
And those were popular pictures in the 50s. And then one that I finished in '59 became the movie Hombre with Paul Newman. That came out around 66, 67.
What a career. Now that you're writing books full time, do you seem to always have one in the works? For example, now that this is out today, do you have another one you're working on?
I'm on page 8.
All right, something to look forward to in about maybe 6 months or so, maybe.
Well, for me to finish, and
Exactly.
it'll be, I hope, next year's book.
So we go through the editing process and all that good stuff. Well, we want to tell folks the book by Elmore Leonard is Pagan Babies, and you will have a book signing coming up tonight, actually,
Yeah.
in the Denver area. It's at the Tattered Cover, located at 2955 East 1st Avenue in Denver. That's in Cherry Creek North. It's at 7:30 tonight. If you'd like more information, there's the phone number, area code 303-322-7727. You'll be there with these books, signing books for everybody?
Yeah, and I have a new website that's practically a biography now.
Okay, what's that?
And that's www.elmoreleonard.com.
Great.
You know.
Okay, well, check it out if you get a chance. And Mr. Leonard, we really appreciate you joining us today.
Thank
Good luck
you.
with the book. I assume you
Enjoyed
can
it.
get it at various bookstores, Amazon.com, etc.
Oh, yes.
All right.
Definitely.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Well, still to come on 11 News at noon.